Dan, welcome back. Read on the
Hi,
Record podcast.
hi, Frank. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How's it going with you, Dan?
Good, good. I just got back from Dubai.
No, you didn't.
Actually, yes, I did.
Dubai. Wow, that's right.
Dubai.
I always
Yeah,
I always forget that our company is international. I think
that's
that's
right.
really,
Yeah,
really, really cool.
yeah.
All
This
right.
was about a 4 day program there, and
4-day program.
yeah,
Excellent,
about
excellent.
35 people and a lot of different backgrounds, and went off really, really good. I think. Yeah,
That's a pretty big class too.
it
I mean,
is. It,
yes, yes, that's pretty
yeah,
big.
and there's a lot of interest in that. People from a lot of different countries. Different companies, organizations, and that they were really receptive to
Oh,
what
wow.
we were talking
Okay.
about. So that was really, really good. Yeah, yeah,
That is excellent. I really, really
yeah,
like it. So,
yeah.
word on the street, though, is that 2025 is coming to a close, Dan.
That's
And
right. Yeah,
there is some dangerous talk that our bosses in Chicago are going to be offering a special, a holiday special.
that's right. It's out now, and it's gift certificates to attend the Reid course, either a 3 day course or a 4 day course. You can go to our Reid store and to get to that, you go on www.reid.com.store, and there's information on there. And you can purchase those at our 2025 prices for and they can be used in 2026. They're gift certificates. We have two of them. One is for the 4 day, as I mentioned, and that's, I believe, 800 for the 4 day read. And then there's a one for $580, which is a co-sponsored price for different agencies, people that are attending that. So go on there. Might be something that people would be interested in.
Well, this sounds really, really cool. And just so I understand what the company is offering, they can purchase a seminar in 2026 at 2025 prices.
Correct.
All right.
By through these gift certificates
Excellent,
and
excellent.
it. Yep. Yep.
There will be a link in our show notes for the listeners and the viewers. If you click show more, then you should be able to see a link, and it's going to be in a drop down in it. Well, that sounds really, really great, Dan. I am really excited about it, and our company is offering a discount like this.
Yeah. Good.
All
Good.
right. So I had a question a couple of seminars ago, as well as my current seminar that I'm in right now. And that is a question that I figured I would put it to you, Dan. The first part of the question is, what is a baseline in a Reid behavioral analysis interview? And also, what are the origins of the baseline? Where did it come from? How did it get started?
Okay. Well, first of all, the baseline is establishing prior to you asking any interview questions. And it's not just our behavioral analysis questions, it would be any investigative questions. It's to establish what is normal behavior from this individual that you're going to be questioning, such as are they capable of sitting still? Do they have eye contact, no eye contact? Can they express themselves?
Mm.
And this is all done for the purpose of not misinterpreting behavior as being deceptive when in fact it is just someone's normal behavior. A lot of, I think, people that criticize us using behavior as an indicator of truth or deception, I think what they do is they try to make it appear that, well, because a
Mm-hmm.
person looks away, it means a
Mm-hmm.
lie, or because they are re-asking a question that you ask, or they're not answering it directly, it automatically means that they're lying. And it doesn't do that at all. I mean, you have to understand the individual that you're talking to, and a lot of investigators really do not spend any time establishing people's normal behavior. It's not a glamorous part of the interview. Investigators are really anxious to get into the questions about the issue or get into our BAI. But this is really critical that you spend time in this area going through questions that should pose no threat to that suspect, that are, in other words, known truth questions.
Really, really good, and an explanation of exactly what the baseline is. And I'm reminded of a conversation that I had with a banker a number of years ago. And what the banker told me is that as they're training their people how to detect a forgery, like a forged bill
Hmm.
of some type, he said that instead of studying the fakes, what they do is they study real dollar bills, and they look at the ink in them and the picture, the watermarks, and they're looking at all of this, and they're training the individual to look for deviations from the norm whenever they are dealing with large amounts of money. It could be something as subtle as a feel. Maybe the ink just doesn't feel right. It doesn't flow right.
Hmm.
But they handle real money hours on end, just to get them used to what real money looks like. And I think that would be a good analogy for what you are explaining, Dan. What the baseline is it's a unique way to put into context how an individual in front of you appears to be truthful. Now, what kind of questions are asked in a baseline, just out of curiosity?
Well, now these are questions that we normally will ask, and obviously people can lie to these, but uh, we generally will ask their name, spelling of their first name, last name, their address,
Hmm.
job, back. You can talk about family, just talking about things that you kind of feel comfortable don't pose a threat to this person. That they really shouldn't have issues in lying to you about. And with some people, you got to be careful because, I mean, there's always exceptions to everything. But just spend time in that area. Talk off the topic. You don't have to go right into the issue at hand. Uh, and this helps also to build a little bit of rapport between you and that subject. When they're being questioned by anyone concerning any kind of wrongdoing, whether it be a private individual in the private sector, whether it be a law enforcement officer in that, they people are naturally going to be nervous.
Mm-hmm.
It is not an everyday occurrence that these things happen. And it's important that you try to, as best you can, to calm them down in that scenario. And these questions that don't pertain to the issue but are, again, the known truths, serve that issue. And again, I say investigators just spend a couple minutes doing this and then they're right into the interview. And it really should be something that you want to try to spend. And again, I know time is an issue. 5 minutes, 10 minutes in this area before now getting into the issue at hand.
Yes, definitely on that last part. And some of the feedback that I've gotten from some of the people who have taken our courses is, well, if I was called in for an investigation, especially if I knew it was going to be a Reid interview, well, I'm going to be really, really nervous, and
Right. Yeah.
if I'm really, really nervous, wouldn't you mistake that nervousness for, untruthfulness or me being less than honest with you? But again, most of our critics who criticize what we do, they always fail to mention this all important guide rail. It's the safety rail that keeps us from rolling off the side of the mountain. Hey, you might be really, really nervous, but I'm going to take you aside. I'm going to ask you several non threatening questions, memory recall questions, reflective questions, and see what you look like when you're being truthful. And truthfulness
Right.
is not going to be hidden by nervousness and anxiety. I want everyone to know that. And if you go through one of our seminars, when somebody tells a lie, it looks so much different from the truth. I mean, there's going to be very little risk of intermingling those two realms together, especially with our baseline, right?
Right. You have to have that baseline to
Hmm.
make an informed decision, whether it be truthful or deceptive. And
That's right.
again, there's nothing wrong either. And I think we stated this in past podcasts that there's nothing wrong after that interview to say, I don't know.
Exactly. That's right. You don't have to make a decision right there. You might have to go and put in a little bit of extra, some legwork in your investigation. So
checking up on the
that's right.
individuals, hit their
Mm-hmm.
story, and that.
A hundred
And
percent. Yeah.
our behavioral analysis interview is not something that really you have to start out with. I mean, you do have to get the who, what, where, and why
Exactly.
first,
Yeah.
and determine based on what they're telling you. Do you believe their story? Is there some doubts to it? Uh, do you have to maybe pursue other areas before getting back to other people and things that they tell you? Because the more informed you are, the better job you're going to do.
Exactly, that's right. Because if during the interview the person is given some indications of deception based on their responses, and not only our questions, but the overall case facts, right? If you have evidence that the person has actually committed a crime, when it's time to switch over to interrogation, having an effective baseline is just going to be another method that we can use to get all the pieces of the puzzle for that interrogation. But
Right.
so yeah, so I suppose the second part of the questions that I've been getting is where did the origin of the baseline start, Dan? Where did it first show up? Whose idea was it? Where did it come from?
Well, I'm sure it was out there, but John
Hmm.
Reid really, in his interview, when we started to develop uh, the behavioral analysis interview, which was based on some of the questions that we would find that John would ask in a polygraph examination. In any polygraph test, and this is going back to the late 30s, 40s, and even a little bit prior to that, polygraph examiners, in order to detect deception with the person's respiration, blood pressure, needed to establish a baseline and look for deviations from that baseline in physiological responses. And they would be asking what, again, is known truths. Do some people call you Frank?
Hmm.
Is today Tuesday? Those types of questions that, again, pose no threat, are known truths, and the polygraph would establish, okay, this is what a normal baseline, as we called it, looked like, and then we would start asking questions on the polygraph test concerning the issue. Did you cause the death of so and so? Did you
Hmm.
steal that $5,000? And looking for those changes compared to the baseline. And I think that's really how everything sort of started to progress. But even in the polygraph examination, you always would do an interview before you would actually administer the polygraph test. So these were questions that the investigator would cover with the person, the polygraph examiner would cover with the individual, and then rehearse them with them. And by rehearsing them, I mean tell them these are the questions that we're going to ask you
Hmm.
to make sure that there's no surprises and that they knew everything and what their answer would be. And then the polygraph test would start to be administered in usually 3 to 4 minute intervals.
Okay, wow. So the baseline has its misty and legendary origins in the 1930s, and I think that's really neat. Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. So that's really amazing. It sounds like
Yeah.
we were able to take some of the best attributes of the polygraph, the protocols and practices, and kind of use them into our behavioral analysis interview then as one of our types of questions that we ask a subject in there. So I think that's really, really cool, Dan. I like that.
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
know.
That's
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So that's how it, at least on our end, in the
Hmm.
investigative side of things,
Hmm.
started. But again, I'm sure many investigators, wouldn't even realize they're
Hmm.
asking these baseline questions. They're just getting the information and then start to see, well, they look different when I asked them this question
Yeah,
or
yeah.
that question and
Hmm.
that. So,
That's that gut
yeah.
instinct on day one, and I always try and illustrate for it for the attendees of our seminar. You are already doing a behavioral analysis on somebody. You already are. We're just calling it a different word. You call it a gut feeling. You call it the law enforcement sixth sense out there. So we're
Right.
already doing something. Now, let's suppose for an instance you are a patrol officer, and I'm looking at a car, and I see the car, and it's starting to weave around the road, and I pull it over, and the person's acting really funny. We're in a high crime part of town, and for officer safety issue, I managed to get the person outside of the car. Before I start asking some of my investigative questions, where are you coming from? What are you doing? Do you have anything in the car that I need to know about? What kind of baseline questions do you think we can ask someone on a traffic stop?
Well, obviously, is that you're trying to get an ID from the individual, whether it be an
Oh,
ID
yeah.
or their
Mm-hmm.
license. You can verify with them, asking them, "What is your current address?" A lot of I've seen both ways where some investigators now will say is that Dan is this your current address? And they give them the address that's on the license, and the person just has to say yes.
Mm-hmm.
And Dan, I see you have kids in the car. Are those your children? Yes. My suggestion would be is that not just simply asking a question that to elicit a yes and no
Mm-hmm.
type of response. It would be for them to tell you that information. Now,
I like
Dan, where
that.
do you
Yes.
currently reside? And Dan, I see you have children in the car. What are their names?
What are their
You know,
ages? Yes, that's
yes,
right. Yeah, get factual recall, some information from them. I like
right.
that.
And getting them to talk and not
Mm-hmm.
just saying yeah, yeah, and that. Again, I know time is again an essence, especially in a traffic stop or just pulling a car over like that. But still, you can spend a few minutes going through that and till you feel comfortable, and then start asking your investigative
Mm-hmm.
questions. Especially in areas too, Frank, where
Yeah.
uh, there might be a situation where someone might be involved in human trafficking,
Mm.
transporting people,
That's right.
different.
Yes.
When they're
Mm-hmm.
in the van, these people are, they're not their children, but
Exactly.
who
Yeah.
who are they and where did they come from? How did you pick them up, or where are you going? Types of things that I think you really need to ask.
Yes, you can. And not only that, but if you're worried about time, I mean, I don't know about most of the other law enforcement officers, but when I was a deputy sheriff, if I was doing a field interview, a traffic stop, or something like that, or an interdiction, a lot of times while I'm waiting for the information to get back to me from dispatch, whether it's their driver's license or their NCIC, you're sitting there waiting for 5 or 10 minutes. What a perfect time to ask non-threatening questions. It's almost built into the traffic stop or the field interview itself now that I think about it. And
Mm-hmm.
if we can establish a baseline on these interdiction stops, on these traffic stops, then when we ask them, hey, are these kids yours? Then we can have an opportunity to look for deviations away from it, right? If they're making
Exactly.
good eye contact with me at first, yeah, my name's Philip, and I'm from here, and I work here. Okay, cool. Is that girl over there? Is she your child? Yes, she is. And if I'm seeing
Right.
these deviations off of the norm, then hey, you know what? That's an opportunity to explore it further. It may not be enough to get you from reasonable suspicion to probable cause, but as an investigative tool, I mean, I think it's really, really good. You can definitely take it up,
Absolutely.
use it for a whole
Absolutely.
lot.
And not only you're watching for
Hmm.
the physical behavior, but also some of the verbal behavior as well. And one of the things
Hmm.
that I see constantly verbally from people when they're engaging in deception is that the question that you just asked are these is that
Hmm.
are those your children in the vehicle? And instead of responding, they'll say, are those my children in the vehicle?"
They'll repeat the question. That's right.
Yes,
They'll
and
repeat the
as
question
they
back to
repeat
you.
it, what the a lot of times the deceptive person is doing is, how am I going to answer this? what should
Exactly.
I
They're trying to
say?
buy themselves
Buy
some
time.
time. Yeah.
It's a stall tactic many
It's the
times.
empty Diet Coke can. It's the
Yes,
echo.
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yeah. That
If you've taken
uh,
our seminar, you're going to get the reference, which you are welcome to get if you
right.
sign up
But
with our Christmas voucher too, you or
yeah,
holiday voucher, whatever we're calling it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's call it Christmas. Let's call it like it is.
You're
Okay.
getting
Yeah.
dangerous now,
I
Dan.
know. I know.
That's it.
Hey, hey. We
But
could
yeah,
do that now. Yeah.
excuse me. So the baseline is all important, and I would like to point out for a bunch of our listeners out there, when I first heard about the Reid technique, I jumped online and I was reading about it. And I can't tell you how many of our critics out there were referencing these studies that were done on behavior, whether or not someone could go into a laboratory setting and actually have a subject who was pretending to lie and being able to tell which one is truthful and deceptive.
Right.
Which I would like to point out that most of those subjects were 18 and 19-year-old undergrads that had zero incentive or motivation to lie to anybody if they were caught. But I noticed that a lot of these experiments, Dan, they skipped the baseline. There was no baseline pattern of truthful behavior from the respondents in those cases.
Right. And Frank, is that even goes back to many years ago with people challenging polygraph, the accuracy of the polygraph in that.
Oh, yes.
A lot of those studies were done just in that same way. I'm going to have 5 university students, and one of them stole something, and we're going to now administer a polygraph to all 5 of them to see if the test can accurately determine, who actually stole the money or stole the item in that. The problem is that what we're basing polygraph and what we're basing a lot of times our interview on is a fear of detection. And
Exactly.
without
That's
that
right.
fear of
Yeah.
detection is that people can lie very easily,
That's right.
without displaying this. It's that fear of detection, fear of consequence that triggers a lot of this deceptive behavior that we're evaluating.
Do you know what would be an interesting twist on these studies, Dan, now that I think about it? And this could be like a double blind study where the subjects wouldn't know that it's a farce, but if we could get someone to sign up for a study and say, hey, we're going to have some Reid investigators randomly select who stole $1,000 and who is innocent, but if they successfully convince us that they're innocent, they get to keep $1,000. But if we detect that they're the person who stole the $1,000, then they have to pay the researchers $1,000.
Can
Then
we
there's
give them an
something on the
IOU,
line out
Frank, on
there.
that?
I
How
like
about an
that.
IOU instead of real money?
Well,
But you know
that's going to
what?
be the rug pull for the social
But
experiment at the
but you
very
know, you
end.
know
You
though,
know.
I have had people ask me, and I have had people even at my seminars say that, oh, you know what I did in trying to train some of my investigators, do that very same thing where they say, where the investigator says, I had an item stolen from my office and there was only 5 people in the office, and I'm going to now interview those 5 people about who stole this particular item. The investigator who's initiating this knows it's false, but the other people are unaware of that. The problem sometimes with that is that once the people now find out this was all made up, you got
Yeah.
to work with those people, and sometimes, being the subject of an investigation like that can cause a lot of ill will between individuals.
Yes, it can. I
What do you
imagine
mean?
so.
What do you mean you made that up? What do you mean you're talking to me about stealing when there's
Yeah.
nothing stolen?
Yeah.
So I mean, there is downsides to some of this stuff that you know, ideally, might produce a good result, but there's some backflow that you're going to get from that
A
also.
hundred
Yeah,
percent, a hundred
yeah,
percent.
yeah.
But then again, the a loose cannon in me is almost at a point of, hey, I tell you what, let's go out and choose 100 real cases out there, real criminal
Right.
cases with some hardened subjects, and may the best interview and interrogation method win. Whichever one is ethical and legal, and whichever one produces the truth in a substantiated form, let's let that methodology win out. Let's have a gladiator contest
That
of
would
which
be,
method is the
yeah,
best. That would
yes,
be a cool reality show. I think,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
Interrogators
Yeah.
tested, testing the interrogator.
Yeah.
Netflix, are you paying attention? We probably don't really like us, Netflix, actually, come to think
Yeah,
of
I
it, but
think,
that's
yeah,
another
yeah,
segue
yeah.
for another time, Dan.
Right, right, right.
Okay.
Uh,
Well, Dan, thank you for stopping by and explaining to us the baseline and where it came from. I didn't know that it had its origins back in the 1930s. That's really neat.
well, yeah, I mean, he probably even going back further with the polygraph. I mean, from the inception of
Oh,
the
yes.
polygraph, I mean, again, realizing you have to have a baseline before you can, detect any type of deception in that.
That's right.
So,
It
yeah.
all goes back to having a plan and having a checklist and going down it. So
Right,
wonderful,
and never,
wonderful.
never, never feel that I have to rush into the interview. I mean, I think the more time you just talk off the topic, talk about these known truths, it'll cause maybe some anxiety in the deceptive person, but in the truthful person, it's really going to be it's
Really
going to be
true.
worth it.
Yes, it does. Yes, yes. And with the truthful person, they enjoy questions that are easy. Yeah.
Yeah, I can relate back going to a doctor,
Hmm.
and
Oh, yeah.
doctor I'd never been to before, and I'm in there for the first time, and
In how many
just some.
years, Dan? No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
Well, I have to tell you is that for many many years I never did see a doctor, and
Oh my gosh,
I was
Dan.
of the
Gosh,
opinion,
yeah, yeah.
I didn't want bad news. But as I get older, I am glad that I decided, you know what, I owe it to myself, my family, to
That's
see
good.
that
Yeah,
doctor for a
yeah.
checkup and start, getting on the right path. And I was glad at that, and I was. It just you know made me feel better. And fortunately, there wasn't any problems that I had ignored for many many years. But the thing is that the doctor coming in, and I was so nervous, scared. What's going to
Yeah.
happen? And the personality of the doctor that I had,
Hmm.
just making you feel easy. What do you do for a living? Oh, that's
Oh,
so
yeah, yeah.
interesting. And talking about just irrelevant things was again just making me feel more comfortable, and then starting to ask me questions about.
Oh, yeah. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Well, Dan, I really appreciate it. And
Okay,
until
Frank.
next Friday at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, when our next episode is going to drop, my friend, I'll see you then.
Thank you, Frank.
All right.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
You too.